There's a moment most people never talk about. It usually happens in silence. You send a message and it's left on read. You speak in a group and nobody really responds. You give your opinion and it gets quietly ignored. And at first you don't notice it. You explain it away. They're probably busy. They didn't see it. It's nothing serious. But over time, something uncomfortable starts to form. You realize people don't interrupt you anymore because they don't feel the need to. They don't prioritize your words. They don't adjust their behavior for you. They don't really consider your presence in the same way. And here's the twist most people never accept. It's not that you became less valuable. It's that your behavior trained them to stop valuing you. Respect is not lost in one moment. It disappears in small permissions you didn't notice giving. And once you see this clearly, you can never unsee it. Because you realize something powerful. People don't suddenly respect you. They slowly start respecting you after you change how you exist in their world. And in the next few minutes, you'll understand 7 psychological shifts that completely change how people treat you, without you chasing anyone, arguing, or proving a single thing. 1. People respect what you stop explaining. There was a version of you that believed understanding had to be earned through explanation, so you explained everything. Why you were late, why you were silent, why you didn't respond fast enough, why you felt disrespected. And at first it felt responsible, like you were maintaining peace, but something else was happening underneath. Every explanation weakened your position, not because communication is bad, but because over-explaining signals uncertainty. Think about it. When someone has authority, they don't over-justify their existence. They state things once, calmly, and move on. Stoicism teaches this indirectly. Dignity doesn't argue for itself. There is a moment in life when you realize, not everyone deserves access to your inner reasoning, because the people who respect you don't require constant justification. And the people who don't respect you will never be satisfied with your explanation anyway, so you begin to shift. You speak once, clearly, and you stop returning to defend what was already understood. And strangely, that's when people start listening more, because silence after clarity creates authority. 2. People respect the version of you that does overreact. There is a specific moment where people test your emotional control, not consciously, but instinctively. A delayed reply, a disrespectful tone, a forgotten promise, a small dismissal in conversation, and they watch your reaction, because reactions reveal stability. When you react emotionally every time, people subconsciously categorize you as unstable, and unstable people are not deeply respected. But when you pause, when you stay composed, when you don't immediately collapse into emotion, something shifts. You stop being predictable. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this idea in a different form. The external world only controls you if you respond without awareness. And here's what most people miss. Calmness is not silence. Calmness is control over reaction. There is a difference between feeling emotion and being ruled by it. When people see you don't lose yourself easily, they adjust how they treat you, not out of fear, out of recalibration, because people respect what they cannot easily destabilize. 3. People respect the version of you they cannot constantly access. At some point, you may notice something strange. The more available you are, the less you are valued. It doesn't feel logical, but it is psychological. Availability removes anticipation, and without anticipation, value decreases. When you respond instantly every time, when you are always present, when you never create space, people stop noticing your presence, because it becomes assumed. And what is assumed is rarely appreciated, so a shift begins. Not dramatic, not cold, just controlled distance. You stop overextending, you stop forcing conversations. You stop making yourself endlessly reachable, and suddenly, something changes. People who ignored your presence start noticing your absence, and absence creates questions. Why are they not responding like before? Did something change? Am I still important to them? That uncertainty increases perceived value. Not because you played a game, but because you restored balance. 4 people respect what you demonstrate, not what you explain. There is a long phase in life where you believe understanding comes from words, so you explain yourself endlessly, trying to be understood, trying to correct perception, trying to repair misunderstandings. But eventually, you notice something frustrating. People hear you, but don't change how they treat you. Because humans don't update their perception based on explanations. They update based on repeated behavior. If your behavior says, "I tolerate this," no explanation can override that. Stoicism emphasizes this through action-oriented living, not identity through words, identity through conduct. When your behavior shifts consistently, perception has no choice but to follow. But when your behavior contradicts your words, people always believe behavior. So instead of explaining your worth, you begin demonstrating it through boundaries, through consistency, through refusal to participate in one-sided dynamics. And slowly people adjust, not because you convinced them, but because you became undeniable. 5. People respect the version of you that doesn't chase attention. There is a quiet shift that changes everything. The moment you stop chasing attention, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped negotiating your value. Chasing creates pressure, and pressure repels respect. When you constantly seek validation, you unconsciously signal scarcity. And scarcity in emotional behavior is often interpreted as insecurity. But when you stop chasing, when you stop over-texting, when you stop over-pursuing, people begin to recalibrate. Because now your attention feels earned again, not automatic. And humans naturally assign higher value to what is not freely given. This is where many relationships shift, not through confrontation, but through withdrawal of pursuit. And in that space, people begin to reflect on your absence differently. 6 people respect those who can walk away without emotional collapse. There is a type of strength that cannot be faked. It is not loud, it is not emotional, it is not reactive. It is the ability to leave without falling apart. Most people stay in situations far longer than they should because they fear emotional loss more than disrespect. So they tolerate imbalance. They tolerate inconsistency. They tolerate one-sided effort until it becomes normal. But the moment you develop the ability to walk away calmly, you change how people perceive you permanently. Because now access to you is not guaranteed, and what is not guaranteed is treated differently. Some people will respect you more, some will leave. Both outcomes give clarity. Stoicism teaches detachment not as indifference, but as emotional independence, the ability to preserve your dignity even in loss, and that ability changes everything. 7. People respect those who have a life that does revolve around them. One of the deepest forms of respect comes from independence, not isolation, but wholeness. When your life feels empty without someone's attention, people sense that immediately, and unconsciously, it lowers how they value you. But when your life has structure, purpose, discipline, movement, your presence feels different. You are no longer waiting, you are building, and people respect builders, not dependents. This is why Stoic philosophy emphasizes internal stability. Because when your emotional center is not external, you become grounded in a way that changes how others interact with you. You stop needing validation to function. You stop collapsing when ignored. You stop overinvesting in people who give you nothing back. And ironically, this is when people start respecting you more than ever, not because you tried to impress them, but because you finally stopped needing them to define you. Respect was never something you could force. It was always something people gave when your behavior aligned with your self-worth. And once you learn these 7 things, you stop asking for respect. You start becoming the type of person who naturally receives it, not through effort, but through alignment. And that changes everything. If this resonated, you already know what to do. Because the next level of your mindset is built on the one you just unlocked.